we now shift focus to the recession overhang on the Wall Street. Now, equities across the globe are feared to be less favorite of an asset class. Bonds, on the other hand, can be a greater alternative for an investor. Now, infrastructure bonds is well offer stable returns. Now, the NaBFID, or National Bank of Financing Infrastructure and Development, is a development finance institution which issues infra bonds. Now, my colleague Subhana exclusively spoke to the MD of this entity at their annual infrastructure conclave, and she started by asking about the newer issues or the new fundraising plans. Listen in as we wrap up this edition of Large Trades.
We will be raising about 53,000 crores during the year, that is 24-25. Out of that, 2 tranches we have done. So we expect that every quarter 1 or 2 tranches will be raising. Very difficult to put a date on that because it is depending on the requirement. Because we have already fine-tuned the system. We need only 10 days. Like when we have the demand, within 10 days we can raise the money. So we have already streamlined that process. So it is difficult to put a date, but then you can say that every quarter will be raising at least 2 times, 2 tranches. That is because we have a sanction pipeline and the disbursements are also planned.
So do you see offshore investors, especially foreign funds, increasing their investments in infrastructure sector in India?
It's already happening actually. If you look at the InvIT structure, basically InvITs have happened mainly on the road side. InvITs have happened on the solar and other renewable side. InvITs have happened in a big way on the transmission side. While others are still evolving, but these 3 we see. And if you see these structures, we see a lot of foreign funds already taking a huge equity stake in these funds. So this is already happening. There is nothing new in this. It is already there.
Okay. And so when can we expect more long-term bonds? You've been raising funds through 15 years, but can we see more 30, 35-year long-term bonds given that infrastructure, there's been government's thrust on infrastructure?
I would love to do that because actually as the country is evolving towards long-term saving, actually, I mentioned it many times. In India, the household savings are moving in different directions. Actually, insurance, PF and pension is also attracting a lot of investments. They are growing at very high double digits now. The assets under management under this is crossing actually 115 lakh crores as of now, which is more than 50% of the scheduled bank deposits. So necessarily they have to invest in long-term bonds. So I think as the requirement comes up, because maybe this market had not evolved to that extent, because the government was only issuing these 20, 30, 50-year bonds. There is no other player which was capable of issuing. We did a 20-year bond issuance now, and the response was very tremendous. So we are very convinced that there is a space for this, and we as an institution like us evolve. Like even commercial banks can do that, because as they build a book of long-term financing, because now the asset liability for them is more of 1-year deposits, so they're difficult to take a long-term call. But if they raise infra bonds of 20-25 years, then they also can then long-term like us basically. So we see that as the asset class under infra is evolving with the 25 to 35-year concession agreements, so definitely the requirement is emerging, and even municipal bonds for that matter, they will also come in that 5-10 year space. So we'll see more issuances, and there is appetite for that. So we are also playing that role of facilitating this, but we'll see in next 2-3 years this ecosystem will evolve for long-term bonds also.
Okay. So just wanted to understand, you've been raising funds through capital markets. How do you see your funding costs and NIMs in the coming months?
See, we are a thin margin business. The way we are structured, actually, we need to keep our operating cost and credit cost down, because that is the only way to survive in this kind of business. Because actually our net interest margins will never be above 1, it will be around 1.5 to 2. NIMs will be around that, because we may be reporting higher NIMs because we have higher equity component as of now, but then NIMs will stabilize around 1.5 to 2. So a thin margin business.
So has disbursements been slow? I just wanted to understand what is your disbursement target for FY25?
Actually, our disbursements will cross 1 lakh crore this year. We have crossed 50,000 crores as we speak. We expect by March we'll cross 1 lakh crore. So disbursements actually in project finance, particularly greenfield, typically is spread between 2 years, sometimes even 3 years, because this is a project funding. So it doesn't happen that upfront they take the money. So it is over a period of time. Wherever the refinancing is happening, then it can be front loaded, like, when we structure that. But greenfield definitely takes time.
Okay. So one more thing, what are the key infrastructure segments that you are witnessing that are attractive right now?
Actually, the major chunk where the financing is happening is on the road side and on the energy side. And energy is both generation and transmission. Now the storage systems also as a hybrid structure is evolving. Nowadays nobody is doing purely solar or wind. It is all hybrid coupled with storage, because now we need more consistent power supply. So nowadays if you see the projects which are happening, they are coming in that phase. So we see much traction as of now on these two spaces, road and energy. And then as we go, a lot of ports are coming up, airports are coming up. So now high-speed corridors, even though it will be a hybrid structure between road, railway, warehousing and multiple things, they're also emerging. So this is the emerging space. But then as of now, if you ask me, major chunk of our financing is in road and energy.
Road and energy. Okay. So there have also been talks that, NaBFID and SET have been in talks with the RBI, for reducing the capital requirement for institutions offering credit enhancement. Just wanted to understand the status on that.
See, partial credit enhancement, if you have seen the discussions today, is one of the way of increasing, developing the bond market, because ultimately we want this bond market to evolve, and it should be one of the ways of refinancing the infra assets. Actually, it should evolve. For that, partial credit enhancement is one of the enablers to create that market. So everybody is aware. But then there are risks around this also. So regulator has to definitely look at the risk around that. While I can ask 100 things, regulator has to examine. So we have put our request, regulator is examining. Let us wait for their decision, then we will be able to share with you.
Okay. So one more thing, are there any plans on data depository for the infrastructure sector?
Yes, actually we are progressing fast on that. We are already building the technology needed around that. We are also in touch with certain government departments also to share the data and all that. Hopefully we'll be able to make announcements around this, because already my teams are working on a lot of data churning and all that. We'll be able to build a good data repository in next 1 to 3 years.
Okay.